Welcome to our second meeting, and we have a pretty jam-packed agenda, so we're going to have some pretty robust conversation, I think, as we look at these different things and all the good stuff, but glad to see all of you and everyone's safe and well. And with that, I want to turn things over to Mr. Dayhoff, who is going to go ahead and talk about our minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Ambrose. The minutes were emailed out earlier. Hopefully, you've all had an opportunity to review the minutes. Can I have a motion for their approval, please?
I make a motion, we accept the minute as written.
We have a motion by Mr. Wogman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Laird. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It is.
The minutes have been approved. If it's okay for everyone, before we go into the structure and the vision for the board, maybe we could have a few welcoming remarks from my partner on council and on the Rec and Parks Council Committee, Councilwoman Gilbert. Ms. Gilbert?
Well, hello and welcome everybody. I'm glad I'm seeing everybody on my screen, I guess, per se, meeting you all, some of you for the first time, some of you not. I wanted to thank you all for joining in on the committee and giving us your thoughts and your feedback. I know Kevin and I know Abby, we're all excited about a lot of the projects that are going to be coming up. So we're seriously appreciate anything that you can help us with. And I wanted to extend a thank you to Abby for getting all of you guys together and coordinating our meetings and our agendas and anything else that in the future we are going to be coordinating. So I'm going to turn it over to Kevin. You will see me in and out. This is one of the meetings that I actually have a kind of free night, and my husband is finishing painting a room. So one would think you could leave your husband alone with a paintbrush, but I'm just checking to make sure all the details are kind of finished. So if I disappear, you'll get it. And I'll turn it over to Kevin.
And Shannon, you disappeared. Have the kids taken you hostage?
No, I'm still here. I'm just hiding.
Oh, okay, because you can leave the camera on for me. I always like seeing everyone. Hopefully, I mailed it out a little late. Abby helped me out a great deal with trying to put some thoughts together as far as the structure and the vision for the board. And I emailed it out just a little while ago. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at that? Should we, Mr. Ambrose, you had said something earlier about putting documents up on, do we want to, Ms. Gruber or Ms. Viskoski, do you want to, can we put that document up? Would that be okay, or?
Well, let's see here. Let me see if I can find it.
I don't think I have it. Which document were you talking about again? I'm sorry.
I sent it out late, and hopefully I included you in the distribution list. It was the some notes for item number 3, the structure and vision of the board that Ann and Abby and I were going to begin some discussions with the advisory board.
And I'm happy to put it up on the screen. I have it pulled up if that's okay with Shannon.
Can we share the host with Mr. Ambrose?
I can.
Cool. Okay.
Second. It's actually not giving me permission to do that for some.
So you don't actually need to make me the host. If you just on the bottom of your screen where it says share screen, say enable multiple people to share screen, I can pull it up that way.
So Abby, it actually somehow switched you back to host. So can you see if you can make Josh a co-host?
Yeah, I have the document up too, though. So
cool.
Go for it.
Sorry about that. It's just not letting me have the rights now. For some reason, somehow it switched itself again.
Let me.
Ms. Viskoski, you always have the rights.
Josh, you are a co-host right now, but I can see if I can make this happen too. Let's see. We'll race to see who can. I think this is it.
All right, Mr. Ambrose has it up. I think one of the first order of business is how often would you all like to meet? Ms. Gruber and I, and we decided that maybe we would start off the conversation by suggesting that we meet quarterly. How does if you all take a look at your calendar, how does that second Tuesday at 6 o'clock in January, April, July, and October look for you all? Would that be a good idea to start?
That works for me, and I definitely think that quarterly is a good starting place. My kind of, dream here is that we end up having such good conversation and so many great initiatives that we end up needing to meet more frequently than that. But I
Yeah.
think quarterly might be a perfect place to start. But again, I'll defer to the rest of the.
Yeah, I guess my concern is that we didn't want to intimidate folks, but I would like to meet much more frequently also, because I think we have a lot of I think we have a lot of exciting things to discuss, and we have a lot of the minutes included the list of the various events. Well, if that's okay with everyone, can we sort of approve the meeting frequency by consensus? Is that okay? And then the next one, the next bullet is the mission of the Recreation and Parks Department. Does anyone want to read that, or would you want me to read it, or can you review it there quickly and easily? This has been our guiding mission for some time, and I think this explains well, and just a couple more than 7 words or less is what it is that we're trying to do. And we're always looking at promoting a variety of recreational activities, and I think the gnomes were a good example of how it is that we go about things. The gnomes was I like thinking out of the box. The third bullet would be suggested role for the Recreation and Parks Advisory Board. I already got some really good feedback from y'all on this earlier. If you have some additional bullets that you would like to add to this document, if you would consider keyboarding those and sending it out to everyone, and then we'll get Ms. Mullendor to put that together for us for future meetings, or I can send that out shortly afterwards. But I guess the first bullet is yes, sir.
Oh, I was just going to say, Mr. Dayhoff, if folks wanted to weigh in on the suggested role of the Recreation and Parks Advisory Board, I know that Mr. Dayhoff and I had some discussion earlier today, and one of the things that we were both brainstorming about was the need for this board, or at least the opportunity for this board, to help publicize and market and, kind of do some brainstorming about how to share the wonderful story of what Abby and her team are up to, as well as all of our other spaces and events. And so, I think one thought that I have right away when I look at that, are we a body that just is helping weigh in on expenditure? Because I would currently think that our mission might be a little more broad and a little more visionary than just determining where monies are spent or, pursuing equity, which are noble goals and very great goals. But I would encourage us to not limit ourselves to that. And I think some of those are fleshed out more in the bullet point list at the end. But I'm wondering what other kind of big visionary type things we think might want to be captured by the group in this suggested role and list of duties.
I would actually was going to chime in and say that for me, it's not so much a suggested role. It's actually, you have the mission of the Rec and Parks Department, but also what we need is a mission for this board. And I think that's what you're trying to get at in that third paragraph that's called suggested role. For me, a role is a very from a strat development perspective, roles are more tactical terminology. I think this might touch upon what Josh is saying too, is that if we can structure that third piece to be more the mission of this board and capture some of the more visionary words, aspirational words. And then the next section can be the nuts and bolts of the roles, responsibilities of, yeah, but I read the item in the fourth section, they strike me as, in a way, a role, like things you expect us to do or be or serve as kind of thing. So I encourage the group to think of the third section more as kind of the vision, mission, the mission for us, and what's our purpose, and be as grand as we can in our thoughts about that.
Yeah, and sort of look at that fourth section as more of the action items, maybe, Ms. Yang? That where
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, yeah, like I said, from a strategy development perspective, it'd be nice to have a mission statement for this board. And so, like I said, I think, so have that, so suggested role, have a mission statement for it, and then have the expectations or roles, responsibilities that we expect from the board to help carry out that mission. And the items in the fourth section would be those things that I would just suggest a slight rewording of the sections here to capture that better.
you want to take a shot at that and maybe put some words, keyboard a few words and send them out to us at some point?
Yeah, I can do something for the third section. Mhm.
Okay.
I
Ms.
think
Thomas?
maybe Miss Yang, when she suggested it be the mission of the Recreation and Parks Advisory Board, is not such a bad idea instead of suggested role. And then maybe on that fourth section, you could say tasks. I don't know if maybe that's too simple.
Oh, the fourth section could be the responsibilities. It's full responsibility.
Yeah.
If you wanted to be. It's pretty common in these kind of charters to have a responsibility section. What we expect from the board members, or we expect from council, from volunteers, whatever it might. But I think this group definitely needs a mission statement for us to understand what our actions should be geared towards. And I think that was what penned up the third section was, to try to describe what we're supposed to do and help achieve. So I think the content's good, just reshuffling it's all.
How would you characterize the second section then, section?
Well, the second section is the mission of the Rec and Parks Department, which is slightly different than the mission of, which is slightly different than the mission of the Recs and Parks Advisory Board.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So
Yes.
instead of suggested role, you're gonna look at the words of mission of
the Recreation and
Yes,
Parks
ma'am.
Advisory Board,
Yeah, that's
which is to
perfect.
support the mission of, which is support number 2, right?
Yeah, That's
But as
perfect.
Josh was saying too, it's other things too, and that would help. It is kind of a role. I mean, it is getting to what our purpose is and what we are here to help you do.
That's
And then the
perfect.
fourth section is the more tactical, specifically, what does that mean, right? What are the actions we expect, the responsibilities, whatever it is that we would do.
So you could say the Recreation and Parks Advisory Board is responsible for blah, 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 and blah.
That's exactly how I wrote it, as a matter of fact, in my notes here.
Mm-hmm.
The role responsible for the roles and responsibilities of the board, or the expectations of the board, are to by this, expand that, advocate this, publicize that, be a champion for whatever it is those words are. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if we could look at the development of a mission statement for the board, and then perhaps instead of, Jennifer, when you say the tactical pieces that support that mission, if we can look at those as more of initiatives rather than tasks, because we do have an ordinance that actually outlines the powers and the duties of this particular board. So I don't want to begin to develop roles or duties and responsibilities that may actually challenge what is spelled out in the ordinance. And I can share that document.
Yeah, I can see that. That'd be great to make sure these two are aligned.
Right. Yeah.
Or even pull some of that content into this document too, so we have it all in one place. So maybe that becomes the roles, or whatever it is that's decreed, however, and we can reword section 4, these items here. You can always reword them a little bit more initiative based or things along those lines. So yeah, that'd be great to kind of put them two together.
I've got roles and responsibilities of the Recreation and Parks Advisory Board. : Yeah.
Two quick things. The first is that I'll be happy to work with Jen on editing any mission statement. And secondly, I would really encourage us to think big picture and vision on that mission statement. You know, our friends at Magic, for example, have this audacious goal of leading the Mid-Atlantic region, right? And tech, you know, so what is our audacious goal in Parks and Rec and as a board? You know, I think, you know, for example, one of the things that resonates with me is becoming like one of the premier tourist spots in Maryland or, you know, in the region or something, you know, and I think having that kind of, you know, big, hairy, audacious goal
Hag,
will,
the BHAG,
yep,
yeah.
will reinforce
So,
everything
okay.
that's here.
So
And
that
so
raises
I was
another
just going to
question.
conclude by saying, could we spend a little time as a group? What else would everybody else on the call, what would their big audacious goal be if we think about the mission statement?
Wait, so Josh, to piggyback off that though, that raises something else that I didn't bring up because I didn't know if it would take too much time, is that we don't have a vision statement, right? For either, we don't have a vision statement written here. So you just talked about, and now I'm gonna ask the question. Is there a vision statement, which is separate and different from a mission statement for the Parks, Rec and Parks Department? And then do we also need a vision statement separate from a mission statement for the board? And so.
And not to mention that all of those have to align with the ordinance that Abby already mentioned.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
So one of the action items is that Ms. Gruber can send out to everyone, or I can send out to everyone a copy of the ordinance, a copy of the code. And then I guess the other action item is, Mr. Ambrose, you want me to send, or Ms. Yang, you want me to send you, I think I sent you the PDF of the document, which the data migration is easy enough, but I could send you a Microsoft Word document if that'd be okay with you all.
Yeah,
And
that'd be great for me. Thanks.
And you could put and you could activate keep changes and okay, that's cool. So if it's okay with everyone, maybe Mr. Ambrose and Ms. Yang can take a good look at that document and come back with some additional suggestions.
I think that would
But
be
to
great.
continue what Josh was asking,
Yeah.
does
Go for it,
everybody
Ms.
else
Young.
have any thoughts around what to put in here in terms of that goal or that vision, right?
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. I guess in the interest of time, if it's okay with everyone, we'll just move on to nominations and vote for a chairperson. Anyone have any thoughts as and we can rotate.
Mr. Dayhoff.
Yes, sir.
So sorry to interrupt. Before we move on, Mr. Zalewski had his hand raised and wanted to
Oh,
weigh
I'm
in.
sorry,
wanted
I
to
didn't
make sure
see
to
it.
give him time.
I didn't see it. Thank you.
Yeah, but if I don't mind taking a quick minute. Was there or was there not a original Parks Advisory Board previously?
Yeah, back in there's been one since 74-ish or so. Ms. Gruber, I was looking through my records. I don't have much. I know I have paper copies of the meetings that I attended 20 years ago, but I don't have much in the way of electronic records.
Well, that's, I was just sort of,
but where were you going with that, Mr. Zalewski?
well, with the vision statement, I know if 20 years, that's a little farther than what I thought, but it was recently, that they terminated the advisory board, that we just piggyback, not copy and paste, but use that as a starting point for kickoff.
I think it goes back to 1974. I think it was part of the original vision. I think it was part of the original vision when we came up with the recreation department. But I don't have those records. I think we get to start anew.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. Okay, now to.
Before you go ahead, Kevin, I know Josh brought up the idea of larger ideas, such as Magic has, is before Jennifer and Josh kind of go off and create their own vision. Is there something with everyone else here that they want to share that you can foresee as part of that vision, or something you want to see Parks and Rec kind of focus on and be something grand for either Westminster or Carroll County or Maryland for that matter.
I was kind of excited about what it is that he said, because we've had discussions in the past about because we're in the central Maryland area of being a tourism and recreation,
Mhm.
a center for tourism and recreation for the Mid-Atlantic region. We've got Gettysburg to the north of us, and we have running opportunities. We have a lot of recreation opportunities that we already do an extremely good job with that when you look at other municipalities. So I like what Mr. Ambrose said a lot.
I mean, normally in a given year that's not COVID related, we do a lot of strolling in this town. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't want to focus on that, but
It wasn't it the mayor that keeps coming up with
Westminster,
the slogan, the city that strolls or whatever, Joe? I
Yeah.
think that's too fun.
uh-huh.
But we are a destination. You go around the state and you say you're from Westminster, and they bring up all our different strolls. I think it's exciting.
We have projects on the horizon, like Wakefield Valley, that could also become destination oriented.
I think
We
so.
have a lot of
May-
things going on within the county that's even starting to become destination oriented with North Carroll High School, with the buying of Cascade Lake. I mean, there's a lot of things that are seriously starting to become quite the destination, whether you're talking recreation activities or breweries or you name it, that they're all starting to hit the map. So I kind of,
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity here. I'm wondering, because I am cognizant of Mr. Hoff's concern about time, if we could just task every member on this call right now to put down 2 or 3 ideas on paper, and by that I mean email, and send it out to the group, and then Miss Young and I will take a first stab at synthesizing that and pulling that together in a bigger vision statement. And some of it may not belong in this document. It might fuel our conversations down the road. But if we could get everybody here to, again, come up with those 2 or 3, big ideas, big vision statements, big action items, I think that might be really helpful for us in moving the conversation.
Yeah, and we don't have to wait. We don't have to wait until April to have the next meeting. If you all want to, we can meet at an earlier point and look over that document, because it'd be fun to have that document put together before we start hitting the spring and summer months. When's our first Ms. Gruber? When's our first event coming up? Not COVID-19 notwithstanding. When is our first scheduled event?
So we actually have been in very intricate discussions within the office to launch some type of hybrid Celtic Canter 5K event. So with any luck, that and governor's orders not changing on us, the plan that we've developed would put us at March 13th. It's the second Saturday in March is always the Celtic Canter. So we have a pretty solid plan right now moving forward that we think if we move the race out to the golf course so that we're not tying up city streets for hours and hours on end, and our police department and our public works departments, that we can accommodate safely 750 runners over the course of 3 hours with a rolling start, keeping everybody physically distanced at 6 feet. So we have been talking about it for about, more than 2 weeks now. We've started to put pen to paper and actually devise the plan to communicate our protocols out to those that would be approving bodies for this particular initiative at this point.
I did a 5K in Gettysburg in October,
Mhm.
and it actually worked. They did a rolling start with groups of 20 people, and it really was not bad at all. It worked very well.
It tends to change the dynamic of what a lot of runners show up for. So, but I think that there's so many people desperate for a real race that's not virtual, that they're willing to forego some of that camaraderie and the, rush of the excitement and the big herd of people at the start, because it's still a live in-person race experience. So we're going to do our best to be able to suggest and safely hold an in-person event.
I still run by
Well, in
myself.
my short-lived tenure here as board chair, I am going to steer us back. I know we have more updates planned for a little later in the meeting, but I am going to steer us back to a pressing concern of mine, which is nominating the next chairperson. And so, Mr. Dayhoff, I don't know if you had more that you wanted to do to set up that conversation, but let's go for it.
Need to turn it over to you all. What do you all want to do?
Not to step in here, but I wanted to nominate Jess Laird. Jess, I don't know if that's something you'd be willing to consider, but I think it's something that you would be really great at. And I know that many of us here would support you in that role if should you want it.
Well, thank you very much for your confidence, Josh Ambrose. Absolutely, if that's something the group was interested in. I think there are a number of very qualified individuals here on this call, so I am happy to take that on if that's the decision, but also happy to support others if that's the direction we want to go.
Josh, I second your plan. I think would be ideal.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner.
That's awesome. Let's call the vote before Jess has an opportunity to.
Well, are there any other nominations, self or otherwise, from the board? I didn't know if anybody else wanted to throw their name in the ring.
We can rotate it. I mean, we can rotate it as often as you all want to do it. I mean, what would you all have in mind? Have Ms. Laird do it for a year? Okay, we can swap it out.
Yeah, I think a year appointment is
nominations?
ideal.
Going once, going twice. I'll call the vote. All those in favor of Ms. Laird being the chair of the advisory board for a year at double the salary, please say aye.
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 Awesome. The ayes have it, in the eye of the liaison. So Ms. Laird, I think it's your meeting at this point in time.
Oh boy.
Surprise.
I'm happy to finish out this meeting, Jess. I don't know if you have the agenda pulled up or anything.
I did about a second ago, and then my whole computer just shut down. I don't know if you've noticed, I've been back and forth logging in and out of the meeting. I don't know who's letting me in, but it's because my computer and phone keep trading off on which ones want to work. So I appreciate you continuing to grant me admission to the meeting.
Well, the next thing that I'm aware of is Ms. Gruber giving us an update on the pool and everything adjacent to that. So Abby, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, this is sort of like 2 weeks worth of exciting decision making in our department. So as things were evolving and aligning with the preparation of bid specifications for our big $1.2 million pool renovation, it became abundantly clear to me that the timing was working in our favor to squeak out one more pool season with our current municipal pool facility. So, I'm sitting here in mid-January essentially, and we are still with our sleeves rolled up, very much in a deep dive, pardon that pun, writing the bid specifications to make sure that we can get the best possible and most reliable bids in for this immense project. And so it's led us down a couple paths that we certainly didn't expect. So one of those things was the questionable soils that exist underneath our current pool. So there is a reason why our pool has cracked and is leaking water. And we would be remiss if we didn't address that at this stage when we're sitting on the eve of such a large renovation to say, we need some geotechnical studies done to figure out what's going on underneath there before we go down this road of using that site, building a pool within the existing pool. So we've had many, many exciting developments with the actual main pool structure. We've made some changes that strayed from the original study that we think will better serve our community, certainly better serve our swim team. And so there are just many things that we really need to engage in and not skim over just to get this out to bid. And so as I'm sitting here and everything is unfolding and I'm looking at the greater timeline, it really makes sense for us to be cautious and careful, put the best project out to bid that we possibly can, give our community another pool season, because of course we couldn't open last summer because of concerns around COVID and sort of the task that we would be placing on our very young pool staff to be making sure our public was adhering to some pretty strict guidelines. So we said, okay, it's very important to get a regular pool season in and build excitement and capacity really for this very, very incredible project that we'll be endeavoring into. And with any luck, we'll be putting shovels in the ground the day after Labor Day. So that's really the plan at this point going forward. I was also able to, just in case there's any economies that are achieved when we have a pool company mobilized and on site, we were able to add in 2 bid alternates. One would be for the spray ground or the splash pad, whatever you like to call them. And the second bid alternate would be for the lap learning pool. Those 2 bid alternates are advantageous for a number of reasons. I do have a grant application pending for funding that could assist with financing the spray ground. So if that's something that we may have monies left over from bond proceeds that we didn't use with renovation of the main pool that we could put towards that. And then if we get some grant funding, we may well be able to achieve that particular addition to our greater pool layout. And then obviously, you know, if we do have a pool company mobilized and we have everything dug up, you know, at that point, does it make sense to try to attain or achieve funding for the lap learning pool? So we just wanted to make sure that the bid documents were as comprehensive as possible. We are still writing, rewriting, reviewing, revising. As you can imagine, it's a pretty immense project to be pulling together and trying to make sure that we've covered everything. So I'd be happy. Yes.
Yeah, just a quick question. Is there anything that would be helpful from this body in terms of, I don't know if you're looking for any feedback on anything or if you need to boost the signal on helping the public understand what's coming? You know, is there anything like that that we should be thinking about in terms of being able to assist this big project?
I think that role of boosting the signal will be incredibly important as we open our same old pool this summer, because of course, you know, there was a lot of attention given to the bond initiative that the city undertook to finance this. And so I certainly have concerns over some negative, I guess, implications with not really taking action on this project right away. So it will be very important to educate our public that we've actually made this decision so that they have a summer of enjoyment and they get to spend another season at the pool, and that this is really something to look forward to for pool season 2022.
Thank you. Sounds good.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ambrose,
Yes, Mr. Dayhoff.
I wonder how it is that you would see boosting the single would manifest itself. What medium would you look at? Would you look at the advisory board sending out some sort of a media release that we could pick up on Facebook and maybe we could send a copy to the newspaper. I mean, boosting the signal is an active and conversation these days in the community, both with the fire company, with the city, with a lot of folks. I mean, getting that message out.
Yeah, well, I think that as Ms. Gruber finalizes her plan, even if she came up with, 2 talking points, here's what's happening this summer and here's what's happening next summer and here's why it's awesome for you. If each of us shares that on our social networks, that alone just was a pretty substantial amplification with a dozen people on this call. And I know for a fact that many of us sit on other boards and other institutional type structures. So I think all of that, and yes, in coordination with maybe some newspaper coverage would be a great place to start, and definitely an improvement in many different ways.
So if it's okay with you, Mr. Ambrose, Ms. Gruber, maybe we can put our thoughts together as far as some sort of a media release, because I'm already getting questions about the poll, and so that would be good. And then we could all sing from the same sheet of music, because if you look at this board, I mean, we have quite a bit of coverage across the community. That would be great. Okay.
Ms. Gruber, Ms. Mullendor, do we have plans to kind of push like the last grand opening of the pool to this year in the old pool, and then we'll have a new grand opening next year, like you celebrate the final whatevers that you'll never, you're not going to see it again for this playground or for this whatever it is that's at the pool right now. We're not gonna, once we break ground, it's not gonna be there anymore.
My wheels did start turning when it was mentioned of sort of raising the signal and how could the board help. And so it would be maybe a really great board activity to host an open house at the pool one day this summer once we're operational. We have some really great visuals. We could invite people in to do a meet and greet with the Recreation and Park Advisory Board members. They could view the site plans. They could ask questions about how the project will unfold, and we could really make a very great community outreach event that would engage everyone's expertise and give the public a chance to come in and ask questions. I think it would be most advantageous to do that after the project has gone out to bid and would be awarded, because that way we'll understand if we're able to make any progress with some of the other 2 facility enhancements, which would be the spray ground and the lap learning pool.
Very good. Thank you.
Another thing I think we should take advantage of the water bill, do an insert in that, and it may be a 2-folded card that would say what we are doing each year. And once you do the plans for the pool the following year, the card could be flipped over to show the new plans for the pool.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I like it.
That's a great idea.
I think when you send it a part of a bill, people want to maybe understand that there are positive things happening, not always a bill as a negative.
Great point. I appreciate it.
So the action items, if it's okay with Mr. Ambrose. So the action items are at sometime soon, Ms. Gruber will develop some sort of a media release, as the pool will be open this year. And then we can We can build upon that with, I like the meet and greet idea an awful lot. I think that's a great idea. And then we can put all that together into a rack card. And I think that's awesome because the rack card has lots of opportunities with it, because the rack card, we can share the image on social media, and we can also carry copies of that and distribute that. I think that's excellent. Yeah,
Great.
I think that's great. Okay.
Excellent. Well, I know we have a number of other things that are on our agenda. I'm going to go rogue here for just a moment and go to number 8, and that is just scheduling the next advisory meeting. I know we had earlier talked about April, but I want to suggest that if we are developing this robust mission statement and vision statement, that it might make sense for us to meet next month. And does that sound good to all?
Mr. Ambrose, I agree. I would say that, and I was speaking with Councilman Dayhoff the other day, and I said, early on, I think more often is better. And I almost think that, a monthly kind of pace for right now until we really get our goals set and kind of set ourselves on course for whatever it is we want to accomplish this year and going forward, to make sure we're really set. I think if we wait to do it quarterly and we only meet 4 times this year, we might not even have a mission and vision by the by the last meeting. So I wholeheartedly agree. I think it's a great idea.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to call you chairperson-elect for the rest of the meeting. Back to you, Ms. Gruber. I believe you were going to give us a summary of the Wakefield Valley meeting, and I know there was a lot that came out of that.
Sure. Do we want to go ahead and actually earmark
do that?
date time for the next?
Sure, why not?
You want to do that second Tuesday idea? You want to do it February the 9th at 6 o'clock?
Yes.
Madam Chair-elect?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay, great. Has everyone been vaccinated?
I got mine on Friday.
So maybe,
I'm so
All right,
far down the priority list.
maybe,
It
All right,
so far down
I'm
the
going to wade
list.
in here. I'm going to stop and just direct us back just for the time being. So back to you, Ms. Gruber, with Wakefield Valley.
or maybe on the 9th we can meet in person. That would be fun.
Maybe.
Maybe.
No, you think that might be a little early?
Mm.
I'm going to strongly vote for that we stay socially distanced for the time being.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine
My
with
wife
that.
is a nurse.
My sister's a doctor. So,
Okay, I'm going to move on to the Wakefield Valley update. So yes, this meeting for our first public input meeting out of the gate certainly threw some challenges our way. I think it was the Sunday before, the meeting was on a Tuesday, and I realized the forecast was not boding well for a public meeting. So we started to shift gears, and I would be remiss if I did not give a ton of credit to the Community Media Center, because wow, did they do a tremendous amount of work on our behalf to stretch their limits of technology to make sure that we could still have this meeting and make sure that everybody felt included and engaged virtually. And we spent endless hours on Zoom calls with them, of which they never left. So the day of the meeting, Heather and I logged on to a Zoom call with them at 9 a.m. And we were told to be back on at what time, Heather? 5 or 5:30?
Yeah, I think it was 5.
And we logged back onto that Zoom meeting at 5 o'clock, and they had never left the Zoom meeting from 9 a.m. So that is the amount of effort that was put in on our behalf to make sure that we could reach our public and make sure that they felt heard during this process. And it was well worth it, because we have received a mountain of positive email and goodwill. And usually the opening lines in most of the emails that were received were, "Thank you for including me. Thank you for allowing me to weigh in," was usually the very first introductory sentence of most of the emails. So it was really a good first stab, I feel, at, not making our community feel like they had to live with a predetermined plan. That was my biggest concern. I never wanted them to feel like we had already answered all the questions and made all the decisions, and here you go. This is what you have to accept, and this is what you have to live with. So we were very careful. So we had 1,100 views of that meeting on Facebook, which is pretty astounding. The landing page that was created where all of the information for the evolution of this project lives had 713 views in the month of December. And actually it was probably only about 2 weeks in December. If we really think about when we got that page up and running, and when, you know, interest would have waned because the public comment period was over, it really was about 2 weeks that we got 713 hits on that page. So we didn't see anything incredibly surprising when we aggregated the data, and I sent it off to the consultants, and Heather and I were sort of pulling it all together. So there seems to be a tremendous amount of support for a park that very much mimics the use that we see right now. Maybe, you know, so definitely a trail system, some paved, some unpaved, a trail system that absolutely makes a little more sense than our current cart paths that we're using. Definitely a better maintained trail system, because, you know, the degradation of those macadam cart paths are, it happens rapidly. And we have some issues that we have recently figured out at the golf course. All of the ponds are joined, and it actually creates a drainage system for the golf course. And so we had some clogged drains that we didn't know about. And so that was creating flooding over some of these existing cart paths, which really created sort of the downfall and some pretty muddy, dangerous conditions if you were running or biking. So definitely people want to see improvements in those areas. There seems to be also support for activities like disc golf and playgrounds and limited athletic fields. Nothing crazy, no turf, no lights, but, you know, if in fact our community needs additional soccer fields or baseball fields, we feel that there's a tolerance for some of that development. Additionally, we saw a lot of support for picnic pavilions that are nice, that have way more amenities than any of the picnic pavilions that we have in Carroll County right now really host. So, you know, a pavilion with bathrooms and maybe an indoor kitchen area and maybe a beautiful stone grill built in, you know, something that you would be really excited to host a family reunion at, or maybe a wedding shower, or maybe, you know, a bridal shower, baby shower, those types of things. So there seems to be a lot of interest and support in that area. And then we really heard a very strong voice from an environmentally conscious part of our community. They want to see a lot of restoration done in some of the riparian zones. Definitely set aside, you know, areas for wildlife viewing, and really protect some of the areas that have been really interesting to watch essentially nature take back a monocultured golf course. So that seems to be a story that our public wants to preserve and wants to tell, you know, how nature really has come back to this life or this site, and it's abundant now. So I expect to see a draft of this second iteration of the master plan from our consulting firm as early as January 20th. I do expect that it's probably going to come later in the week. And it really is focusing on all of that public input that we received. And then, you know, really just the proximity studies and how the programmatic aspects of that park make sense, where the parking lot's located, if there would be additional access added. The example I used at the city council meeting last night was, you don't want to install a playground that is a mile walk from the parking lot, because your kids are going to be over it before you even get there. So we're looking at all those adjacencies right now, like what makes sense. You don't want to put a boat launch at one of the ponds if you can't drive your car up with your kayak on the roof. It doesn't make sense to do those things. So that's really, so they're pulling in all of these suggestions, all these commonalities that the public brought forth, and they're saying, okay, so now where do we put things that make sense?
Ms. Gruber, would it be possible for you to share some of that aggregated data with this board? You know, like here are the top 3 things, here's some of the, you know, qualitative feedback that was received. I think that might be really helpful for us as we, you know, continue to support the development of this really key initiative.
Yes, I could absolutely. I can send it to you in its rawest form in a similar manner that I sent it to our consultants. And that was essentially, we took all of the emails that were received and kind of copied and pasted those into one document organized by, you know, I want to see this park not touched at all to let's have a golf course again. So we kind of just organized them in one big Word document that way. And then the technology Padlet that we employed really turned into to be a very useful tool for us. So we are able to export anything that anybody posted on Padlet into PDF. I think we can even export it into Excel. So I can certainly share out with this board what was shared in its rawest form with the consultants. So
I think that'd be great. And do you have another public meeting coming up for Wakefield?
Yeah, completely forgot about that. I knew there was something else I wanted to tell you. Our next public meeting, which we just announced today, is scheduled for January 27th. Everybody, please cross your fingers that there's no snow for this one. 2 seatings, the Carroll Arts Council, one at 6 p.m. and one at 7:15 p.m. And we've already had an incredibly brisk response. I think the last I checked in, which was about 3:34 o'clock this afternoon, we had almost 20 people signed up for the 6 p.m. seating already.
Great.
So there remains a ton of interest in this project, and we are incredibly committed to continuing to listen to our public and making sure that this plan is reflective of the greatest good for the community.
Nice. Well, we have, I think, 7 minutes left. Were there more on that number 7 about upcoming events, ideas, initiatives that you wanted to bring to this group?
So I can just, yeah, I can kind of give you the Reader's Digest version. One of the things that I actually wanted to put out to the group underneath this initiative or this agenda item is I received a call a couple weeks ago. I think it was 2 years ago now. We lined 2 of the city park tennis courts for pickleball. And believe it or not, Carroll County has a pickleball ambassador, and he called me a couple of weeks ago and he said, is there any ability for the city to line the other 2 tennis courts at City Park with pickleball lines? And so I'll give you the quick background on this. When we lined 2 of the 4 tennis courts for pickleball, our tennis community was not enamored with us. And so I knew that they weren't going to be happy about it. And that's why I said, we'll start with lining only 2 of the 4 courts. And if in fact we see the amount of pickleball play support the need to line more courts, we will revisit it at that time. And clearly, the pandemic certainly has set forward or in motion a very regular group of people that are meeting daily. Doesn't matter if it's 30 degrees or 55 degrees. There are 8 people on our 2 tennis courts in City Park that play pickleball every single day. And so I would say that the participation is there to entertain the discussion, to say, would it be advantageous for us to line the other 2 City Park tennis courts in order to accommodate more pickleball players? So I just wanted to put that out to the group and get your thoughts and see if you know anybody who either plays pickleball here or tennis here, and if there is any advice that you could lend to us when we're looking at this particular decision.
What about King Park?
There are other tennis courts that we can line. So it's a very social game. And so I think that they may want to accommodate more people on the same site.
Okay. I guess there's no money to build another court.
I
Yeah,
did invite them to participate in the Wakefield meeting. I said, look, you know, there is an opportunity that if there is enough of you that speak out, you could have dedicated pickleball courts at this new park and recreation venue. So I did encourage them, but it's a pretty easy thing to add lines to a tennis court. It's not as easy to take them away. So if we add them and everybody's really upset about it, then it's then a resurfacing of the tennis court to get rid of them.
I have family members who play pickleball, and they fuss over waiting to take turns playing pickleball down at the playground.
I've heard people talk about pickleball. Do you know how many people are actually using, you talked about the tennis community being upset. Do you know how many people we actually have playing tennis there?
We actually have a lot of people that play tennis. Steve, do you play tennis at the park?
Well, looking out my office window right now, there's people down there playing pickleball.
Yeah.
Usually by this time, till about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, there's somebody out there playing tennis. And it seems like ever since we put those lines in on that secondary court, which I'm talking the farther court on the city park, that was never used until we lined it. So it seems like as we lined it, that court that was never used is now utilized obviously for pickleball. I would keep it separate. That's just my input. So it seems like there's always a group of pickleball and there's always a group of tennis. It seems like at the same time. That's all I have.
I want to learn to play pickleball. Just saying. I've heard about it. I have no idea how to play.
That is certainly a programmatic opportunity that we've discussed actually in our office, and certainly can develop. I mean, we know enough people that play that could absolutely do a learn to play pickleball program.
I bet it would go over well. I really do. Yeah, pickleball really seems to be popular.
I like the idea of maybe putting it at a King Park too. I say that, I go back what Steve was saying. I was a high school tennis coach for 25 years. So if we offer both, but I think we should have maybe a tennis court not lined with pickleball and have every opportunity. So making it at King Park would be, we are expanding it.
And you know, we've also had interest in bocce courts out at King Park. Yeah, but we're sticking with pickleball at the moment. If it's okay with Mr. Ambrose, I heard from several folks when I called everyone, they wanted an update on the Tahoma Park, that work.
I can provide that briefly as well. So yeah, the Tahoma Farm Boulder Park, that is that little area to the left of the lime kiln that had some fake climbing rocks in there. And you never know how much people utilize a space until you rip it out. So no, we had received grant funding in I guess last year sometime. I can't even remember. It all runs together at this point. And to replace those climbing boulders, because if you have used that space, you've recognized that we've been plugging the holes in the boulders with expandable foam insulation, which is not the best solution. And so it was a lovely place to trap little fingers and have wasp build nest, which was our other complaint call that we got a lot for that site. So generally speaking, in the field of recreation and parks, every 15 to 20 years, no matter what shape playground equipment appears to be in, it is the general practice that it's removed and replaced completely. One of the reasons for that is general safety. The secondary reason for it is if in fact you have to replace parts, most playground manufacturers are not carrying replacement parts anymore. So you really, if you have a broken plastic panel, you can't replace it with something that matches. And then it just begins to look like we don't care and we don't upkeep our equipment. So every single park is on a schedule for replacement based on its year of installation. And so it is time for the Boulder Park to bid adieu. Actually, it already has. And that was an interesting evolution as well. So our streets department is positively amazing. And in order to use all of those grant funds and put it into play equipment, I had approached them and said, would you be able to do our removal so we don't have to pay for demolition? And they agreed. And so they had some time in their schedule last week. And they said, well, we're going to ride out here and look at it. And I said, okay, that's great. And then the next phone call I got was, it's all out, it's all gone. We made a big mess though. So they had went ahead, they had time in their schedule. They removed all of the boulders and the millions of concrete footers that they were anchored to. The one thing that they couldn't do was return the site to level because it was so muddy, they couldn't regrade it. So it was a little unexpected the way it evolved, and we didn't really get a chance to warn our public. And so we saw some reactionary posts in the online community to that. And we received some questions in the department as well. So today we were able to finally get some information up on our Facebook page. We've requested a sign to be printed in our GIS department, which will get posted at the site tomorrow. And we're basically just saying, hey, great things are coming soon. And we put a picture up of what's going in there. And we do have a confirmed ship date for the equipment of March 5th. Now, that's a ship date to us. So I expect that it would be installed sometime mid-March. Usually once you get playground equipment, the installation process is very quick. The hardest part is actually the manufacture and receipt of playground equipment. It takes usually about 6 weeks from order. So this particular unit was ordered at the end of December, and we got it in right before prices escalated, which was great. And so now we're just waiting for it to actually be produced and shipped to us for installation. So if you have the ability, or if you're a user of that site itself, please spread the word that it is a much needed improvement. We understand that the rocks were beloved. This project actually has 2 phases, and Mr. Dayhoff and Ms. Thomas can talk about those phases. They were very, very helpful in selecting the absolute positive best design that was submitted to us for play value and recreational value to our community. So if you have another $75,000 lying around, we can put both phases in at the same time. But for right now, if you visit our Facebook page, you'll see the first phase, which is really exciting in comparison to that very static play area that did exist there for a number of years.
I'm gonna follow up with Miss Gruber. If you get a chance to see the layout of the playground, I know Councilman Dayoff and myself, we are extremely excited about this, this playground in this area. The plan that was picked integrated the boulders. I mean, out of all the plans that were submitted to us, this was one of the plans that integrated the
Really
area
fit in.
along with the equipment and to walk in and have a wow factor. And I think everyone's going to appreciate that wow factor and the chance that children of all ages can actually interact and play on this equipment. So I'm hoping that you take the drawing and the reality, and it is the wow factor, but I'm really excited to see this come to fruition, and whatever else we can do with the site and what we can expand upon it in another grant or years to come also. Any publicity and great publicity on this site is definitely going to be warranted, just to get the community, excited about it. We've got another spring, getting out from COVID. I think kids are going to be excited along with the parents to actually get out and see something new. So I'm really excited about this.
Can we get the plans out to the advisory board?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because they had some great images, and I think to have the advisory board, and we're going to put the sign up tomorrow. You think?
Yes, the sign will go up tomorrow. Mm-hmm.
Are you anticipating that it will be in the morning? I mean, in the morning, in the afternoon? because maybe we could just for giggles and grins, send out an email to everyone and say, meet at whoever can meet with us can meet there at 1 o'clock and we can all have our picture taken with the sign.
Yeah, I am a little concerned about the pixelation of the images, so I don't,
Okay.
I really can't commit to a time tomorrow.
Okay.
So
We can send an email out. I mean, if folks can come, if folks can't come. Mr. Ambrose, I got one other idea.
He's
If you
gone.
can
I think he had to leave.
Okay, Ms. Laird, if it's okay with you, I have one other idea. Ms. Gruber, can we put up the makeup of the board on the Recreation and Parks page, please? Can we put something up about the board? Can we put the minutes up? Can we do something? Can we put our pictures up? Can we put a list of who's on the advisory board? Can we do something with, what is it, mail? Do we use MailChimp or Constant Contact? Can we do something like, so folks know that there is an advisory board and that sort of thing? Is that okay with everyone?
yeah, we use MailChimp. We do try to temper when we
Okay.
send those out, and we just sent one out to actually announce the second Wakefield Valley meeting. So, but I'd be happy to, I'm not exactly sure what Sam may have already put up on the city's website. So allow me to do some research
Okay.
as to what exists on the city's website. And then, you know, we certainly will make sure that there's visibility for this board and the good work that you're doing on either the city's page or, you know, our recreation and parks pages. But allow me some time to investigate perhaps the best way to do that.
Okay.
And then I'll bring, you know, a recommendation that could be an agenda item for next month's meeting.
Okay.
Where I can kind of come up with a plan. But I would also say, you know, another really great way to do that is to follow up on, you know, like I said, that meet and greet at the pool, to be present, to share that plan with everybody. Come to the January 27th meeting as a board, and you know, we could certainly recognize you at the meeting.
That would be good too.
Individual board members are going to be there. Another thing that we can do is once the installation of the new equipment is in at Tahoma, we can have a ribbon cutting.
That would be good.
That would be organized by this board. And so, you know, then your face is really out sort of advertising the initiatives that you're standing firmly behind.
Because we're the vertical integration into the community. And I think with this board, I mean, we can reach all corners of the community, and that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If it's okay with the chairperson Laird.
Absolutely.
And then we'll put our thoughts together as far as an agenda for the next meeting, Ms. Laird.
That sounds great.
Okay. Okay.
I think we had a lot of action items tonight and a lot of things that Ms. Gruber now is planning to email to us. So apologies for that long list of items. I know the ordinance is something I'm looking forward to seeing. I think that will really help us to shape maybe not so much the vision, but definitely our mission and kind of those responsibilities for this board specifically. So looking forward to everyone's comments so that Ms. Yang and Mr. Ambrose can work to get that, or a draft of what that might look like, together for us. So I think if we can all share our thoughts with them, that would be really great. And the sooner we can do that and give them more time to kind of mull that over, probably the better. The notes from the Wakefield Valley findings and everything would be wonderful to see as well. I know we're looking forward to that. And I just have to say, Ms. Gruber, you did a great job with that meeting. It was really well done. And I think the landscape architect as well, you know, his presentation of what's been done so far was really great, just showing the areas for opportunity and really not making it sound at all like there was some preconceived plan. I think that all went over very well. And I heard from many people who either watched or watched the video later that it was really wonderful. So thank you for all your work with that as well. And the pool, I think there's lots that can be done there as well. So sounds like we have a lot of interesting and exciting things on the horizon. The Celtic Canter for sure. I know I would love to run in a real race instead of going out and running 5K around my neighborhood. So love to see that happen as well. But lots going on. Thank you all for being here. Once again, meeting number 2 in the books. That was great. Thank you to our council people, Councilman Dayhoff and Councilman Thomas. Thank you both for being a part of this. Is there anything else anyone would like to share before we adjourn? I think we're good. We've got our next meeting date set for the 9th. If not, with that, I think we'll say farewell. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.